Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Empowered Esquire TV. Empress Kaya is first in the chat. So, hello, Empress. So, let me forewarn everyone from now. Um, Unlike what you might expect, I am not a lawyer robot who sits in a closet until it is time to go live for you and then someone plugs me in, right? I'm an actual human being who does exist within an entire familial system and all of those things. Okay, so you may hear noise in the background. If you do, such as life, and I do have a life. Empress Kaya says, how are you, Esquire? I am well. I am wonderful, blessed, and abundant. How are you, Empress Kaya? So, as you all see from the title, we are going to be discussing Young Thug, his arrest, this whole RICO situation, talking about what RICO is. Now, we've lightly touched on this in the past when we discussed R. Kelly. If you go to my channel and go to my playlist, you will see an entire R. Kelly playlist. And in the very first video, and also in the very first, I think, appearance of Miss Diva Divine Light, we discussed at length what an enterprise is, right? Because RICO and what an enterprise is and racketeering was also included in the R. Kelly trial as well. Okay. Hello to Wisdom Over Feelings. Alrighty, so listen, we're gonna dive right in now. Before we do, I have a video from 11 Alive, so it's a news clip in which we will actually watch Young Thug pretty much hearing what his charges are, et cetera, right? We'll kind of watch one of his preliminary hearings, if you will. Now, before we do that, I'd like to say, I always say in the description of the video that, all materials used are being used for fair use, et cetera, et cetera. But let me just reiterate, we do use any clips, articles, anything like that for the purpose of fair use, as this is an educational channel. And so the purpose is for us to understand the law and for me to teach the law to lead to said understanding. Hello to South National. All right. Okay, so let's hop into the video. And after we watch the video, then we're going to have this larger conversation of, well, do you want to see notes on the law or do you want to look at the actual law? Maybe I should have my phone not be on loud. That might be a good idea. All righty, everyone. So let me pull up the video for you all. Let's see here. It's taking a bit of a moment. I think I may have mentioned to you all the last time I was live that my little laptop here, it's a wonderful laptop, but I have so much stuff on it. And so I'm really gonna have to learn how to better manage my memory because my little laptop is kind of burdened now with all of the stuff that I have on it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we're gonna hop right into it.
I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we were able to fit you in. Sorry you had to wait a minute. I appreciate your patience. Let me set up the case first. This is position 20, case number 22 CP 208957, Jeffrey Williams. And I want to say good afternoon to you, Mr. Williams. I'm Judge Wolf. This is your felony first appearance. Good afternoon. We're doing this remotely because of COVID. You have the right to remain silent. You're presumed innocent, and you have the right to an attorney. Your lawyer, Mr. Steele, is on the call. So let me start with you, Mr. Steele. This is a first appearance. Do you want to be heard on probable cause or just bond?
We will be heard on bond, Your Honor.
Okay. So let me ask, is this your case, Mr. Smith?
Yes, Judge.
And is this part of that same indicted case or something different?
That is correct. It is part of the indicted case, Judge.
Okay, if you could announce that first and then we'll go from there.
Yes, Judge. So these charges, these warrants stem from indictment number 22 SC 1822273 as well, Your Honor. Would you like me to go ahead and proceed with my position on bond as well, Judge, or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So it's the state's position that given Mr. Williams access to resources, and given that we're still in the process of apprehending everyone on that larger indictment, Your Honor, it's the state's position that he is a flight risk, as well as there's a clear risk to hinder the administrations of justice, Your Honor. Officers executed a search warrant at the home of Mr. Williams. They recovered large quantity of drugs, several firearms, one of which including.
So we have to have a moment here. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that this man had several, or let's start from the beginning. Did you all hear that allegedly, when they searched Young Thug's home, for those of you who don't know, Jeffrey Williams is Young Thug. Okay, in case you're watching this and you didn't know that. So allegedly, law enforcement found large quantities of drugs in his home, like at his residence where he resides. That takes either a high level of that takes either a refusal to use your brain, just a total refusal to turn your brain on, or a high level of arrogance to think that you are absolutely immune. Can you guys tell me in the chat, what do you think it is? What do you think it is that caused Young Thug to have large quantities of drugs and firearms in his home? Give me a 1 in the chat if you think he's just not thinking. Maybe he's not that intelligent, or maybe he's not thinking. Give me a 2 in the chat if you think he's extremely arrogant and just never thought that anyone would even look. In the meantime, hello to Mickey Bricks. Hello to Caramel Oboto. Hello to D Jones. Yes. Peace and love to all of you. Tell me what you think. Mara Sharice, Deneen Bay, hi. I see a lot of you saying too. A lot of you saying that he just was arrogant. I mean, what has to go on in your mind, in your thinking, your thought pattern, that you would really think it's safe to have all of these illegally obtained, or things that you are illegally possessing, large quantities of drugs, etc., at your residence? Wow. Yes, Mara Sharice, we missed you too. Mara. Mara, actually, can you email me? I need your email because I need to talk to you about a potential custom piece. I don't know if you even do custom, what would that be called? Custom creations? But let me know if you do. I think I already said hello to Wisdom Over Feelings. Okay, Wisdom Over Feelings and Mickey Bricks think that it's one. They think that the brain just wasn't on. Oh, well, let's continue.
A automatic switch, making it a fully automatic machine gun. And given the nature of these allegations of bond, Your Honor, we would respectfully request that you deny bond.
And I just want to understand, Mr. Smith, you're saying that Mr. Steele's client, Mr. Williams, he was indicted on that same 22 SC 182273 or not?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And I thought that it was the state's position, per the delegation order from Judge Brasher, that this court, me being a magistrate court judge, that I don't have authority to consider bond. Is that the case? Or are you saying that I...
So I don't know if you all can tell what's going on right now. But what is going on right now is that the judge is throwing the ADA a bone. He's saying to him, hey, I thought that you had mentioned that I don't even have authority to consider bond. Wink, wink, right? Now, of course, we don't know much about ADA Smith, and let's be clear, I don't say anything that I say to be a judgment or a reflection of ADA Smith. I can empathize with how difficult of a job that is, right? But I say that to say what you're hearing right now is the judge throwing him a bone. The judge is saying to him, I thought that you had previously argued, right? So he's trying to kind of tap him on the shoulder and say, you should probably add this. Now, as far as the substance of that argument, I'm going to be transparent with you all and tell you I expected a longer argument. With the type of indictment that we're looking at here, this indictment is, I think, over 88 counts, I believe. We're going to get into that, but I believe this indictment is over 80 counts, right? And there are a group of people being arrested in correlation with this indictment. So it's interesting to me that this bond argument was so short. That's just something I noticed. Thank you, Mara.
That I do.
And just to clarify, Your Honor, with that indictment, that was a direct indictment. These are additional warrants that were taken out stemming from that particular indictment. Whether or not these new warrants will become a part of that indictment, a decision has not been made as of yet.
Got it. But they're within the four corners of indictment 22 SC 1822273. These warrants are not part of that indictment.
That is correct, Your Honor.
It would require a re-indictment if the state chose to do so.
That is correct.
Okay, so you do agree that these charges have not been assigned to Judge Plainville, they're unindicted, and it would be for the court to consider today.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, I understand. And it goes beyond Mr. Steele's case with Mr. Williams, but I just want to know for future reference today, Mr. Smith, I appreciate the update. Position 18, Diamante Kendrick, position 19, Martinez Arnold, they're in the same posture, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, got it. And Mr. Steele, just to bring you up to speed as well, there was a co-defendant or someone related, Sergio Kitchens, who was on the calendar earlier, represented by Mr. Samuel. His case, though, for today was strictly the case that was indicted a couple days ago. That was a different situation. I'm going to treat this just like a regular first appearance. So with that in mind, let me go back to you, Mr. Steele. Do you want to be heard on probable cause or you want to just be heard on bond?
Find, Your Honor.
Okay, got it. So the court does find probable cause based on warrants, Mr. Williams, for the following charges: possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, possession of Schedule 3, 4, or 5 controlled substance with intent to distribute, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
So what you're hearing right now is the judge reading through all of the charges that are in the indictment against Young Thug. You'll notice that he's starting out with the charges that have to do with the quantities that they found in his home, the quantities of alleged drugs that they found in his home. And you'll notice that he's saying with intent to distribute, with intent to distribute. The reason that Young Thug is being charged with intent to distribute is because he had such large quantities. So when someone is found with large quantities of drugs, the law is not going to think that you have them because you're using them. They are automatically going to say this amount looks as though you were trying to sell it, to distribute it. And that is usually a higher charge, and that is a different charge. And in most jurisdictions, the intent to distribute actually has listed there the quantity that is required for them to say, oh, you had an intent to sell this. So right now, they are saying that Young Thug allegedly had so much drugs that he was intending to sell it. So understand that this man, who is a mainstream rapper signed to mainstream record label, right, and supposedly making financial gain from his rap career, had so much illegal substances in his home, allegedly, that he was intending to sell it. Okay, let's continue. Hey, Michelle Jordan. Hey, Keenan Davis. How are you?
Possession of a sawed-off shotgun, a sawed-off rifle, I think in this case the allegation is a machine gun, dangerous weapon or silencer, unlawful for a person employed or associated with a certain organization to conduct or participate in that organization, unlawful for, and there are three.
His 18 cycles beginning in 2008. He was a multi-state offender with arrest from the states of California and Georgia. Last arrest was
My apologies, the screen kind of froze, and we left off with the jail saying 3 substance, so there was a part that he missed.
Okay, well, let me just kind of back up. What I was saying was, sir, the court does find probable cause for possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, possession of a Schedule 3, 4, or 5 substance with intent to distribute, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a machine gun. And then there are 3 counts about unlawful association with certain groups. I don't know, Mr. Steele, if you want me to waive sounding of what the actual charge is. I was trying to talk around it. Those are the 3 charges that relate to the first 3 charges. That was the last thing I said, sir. So I now heard from pretrial 18 cycles starting in 2008 out of California and Georgia. Ms. Gordon, do you show anything else?
the last arrest was November of 2018 for possession of methamphetamine with intent to distribute, purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution, or sale of marijuana. And that was in DeKalb County. No disposition listed, no felony convictions listed on the GCIC, nothing further, Your Honor.
So yes, you heard that correct. In the past, Young Thug allegedly was arrested for possession of methamphetamines. You know, I have no thoughts on that. My heart goes out to anyone that is struggling with addiction to any type of substance. And all of this background that we're getting in this hearing really sets the stage for the case that we're going to delve into. Because many people are wondering, well, why would he do this or why would he do that? And maybe now we're getting more of an understanding. Perhaps he's been under the influence of drugs. You know, methamphetamines are a strong substance. Maybe part of why he participated in all of this, allegedly, is because he's been under the influence of methamphetamines. Who knows? Hello to Black Girl Beauty. South National has an interesting theory here. He wanted to exchange the drugs for prison time. All right, let's go back to the hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, what's the state's bond recommendation, please?
My recommendation is that Mr. Williams remain in a no bond status, Your Honor. I'll reiterate, he's at a significant flight risk given his access to resources. There's also a clear risk of hindering the administration of justice, given that we have not apprehended everyone on the larger indictment, Your Honor, and given he's also at a risk of committing additional felonies. As you see within the last arrest, there was a possession of methamphetamines, and I believe officers also recovered that during the execution of their search warrant. So we would ask that bond be denied, Your Honor.
Do you show that he has no felony convictions?
I believe that is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you from the state. Mr. Steele, please tell me about Mr. Williams and any bond recommendation you have, sir.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you for everything you do, honorable prosecutors.
So you all know, you should know me well enough to know I give you ample commentary when we watch these kinds of hearings, okay? And so I want to mention something. I want us to take a little walk down the who is Brian Steele lane, right? As I'm going to call it today. And the reason why is it will be interesting to see how this case progresses if it goes to trial. So let's have a quick conversation about who Brian Steele is, okay? So I'm going to stop screen share only long enough for me to start screen share again, right? And in the meantime, hit the like button if you are in the building and you have not done so. Hit that like button, subscribe, and please share the video if you feel so inclined to, right? Remember, the like button is a free way to support the channel, and Miss Algo gets the notification that we exist by you hitting the like button, okay? So let's have a conversation about who Brian Steele is, because he is Young Thug's attorney. Okay. Hello to Keenan Davis. How are you? Hello to Deneen Bay, if I didn't already say hi. Hello to Indigo Forever. All righty. Okay, let's move on. Gonna share my screen again. We're gonna take a little walk down Who is Brian Steele Lane. All right, everyone can see that, right? Awesome. So let's first go to the homepage. So this is the homepage of the Steele Law Firm. This gentleman here in the very dapper suit, I have to say, I'm inclined to love blue, so I'm a bit biased, but I love this navy blue suit, this power red tie. So this is the Steele Firm, right? This is Brian Steele. And let's see who's this person. About Us. Okay. So is she his wife? Huh. So we have Brian Steele here. We have Colette Resnick Steele. Assuming she's his wife, being that she has this other last name here, which is probably her maiden name. Beautiful couple, power couple. Okay, alrighty. So let's see. Brian Steele. Brian Steele has tirelessly defended those accused of criminal misconduct since 1991. Whoa, y'all. Y'all. This man has been a criminal defense attorney for over 30 years. That type of experience is a very good idea. So we've had our conversations about what's going on with Young Thug, but thus far, this choice in attorney was a good one thus far. Hey T Bam, how are you? How you doing? Everybody saying hello to T Bam. Mahogany Dreamin' said that's a long time. It sure is. This man knows what he's doing. Okay, let's get to know him some more. He has built a national criminal defense practice in state and federal courts based on exhaustive preparation, creation, and novel motions, skillful appellate advocacy, and zealous courtroom showdowns. Brian has appeared in courts across his home state of Georgia. Y'all, wait a minute now. So not only has this man been an attorney for over 30 years, he's from Georgia. He's not a New York attorney or a California attorney being flown in to do this. He's at home. Okay. Listen, Jeffrey Williams got the brain turned on when it comes to attorneys. All righty. Brian has appeared in courts across his home state of Georgia, as well as California, Florida, Missouri, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, and Louisiana. Wow. Brian has been recognized for his skills and accomplishments by his peers, by numerous organizations and publications, but his record speaks for itself. The level of success Brian has obtained in both the trial and appellate courts is unprecedented. Brian Steele is Georgia's most successful criminal appellate attorney, with over 200 published opinions and approximately 40 reversals to his credit. Let me tell you something. In case you don't know much about criminal appellate work, 40 reversals is a big deal. A big deal. Because a criminal appellate reversal is rare. So 40 out of 200 is a really good record, y'all. So what we're seeing here is not only someone who can run this trial, and remember, that's lawyer slang for complete a trial. We call it running a trial. So not only did he hire someone who can run a trial, but he hired someone that if the trial doesn't go his way, this person can run the appeal too. Okay. Brian's trial results, wherein he has achieved not guilty verdicts in seemingly unwinnable cases. We got to read more. Where are we here? Here we go. Reflect the commitment he gives to his clients and his command of the law. Brian has represented attorneys, doctors, FBI agents, judges. Wow. Brian handles cases ranging from RICO to wire fraud, immigration fraud, money laundering to murder, armed robbery, drug offenses, and we're not going to read that. Okay. Brian was one of 3 finalists for Attorney of the Year award in 2017. He's been recognized as a Georgia super lawyer. You guys, Georgia super lawyer isn't a big deal. That's kind of a popularity contest. But all the other stuff sounds legit. Okay. He is a recipient of the Commitment to Justice Award. And he was among the first lawyers recognized by the Fulton County Daily as a criminal defense attorney on the rise. Okay. He is a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers. That, everyone, is a big deal. You can only become a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers via invitation. So they have to decide that you are a good enough trial attorney. And it's not you've been a good trial attorney for 5 or 6 years. It's years on years on years. So that's a big deal. Let's see. He's a member of the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. Nah. Okay. And here's his education. So, University of Michigan, Fordham. Fordham is a good law school. Oh, and he was a public defender in the beginning of his career. Huh. Okay. So, everyone, you have now met. Let's go back to his picture. You've met Brian Steele, everyone. What do you think? Tell me in the chat what you guys think about Attorney Steele. Give me a 1 in the chat if you think, man, this is yeah, this is a good attorney. Young Thug has a good shot with this guy. Give me a 2 in the chat if you think perhaps he could have hired someone more adept. Let's see if we're all on the same page. 1 in the chat if you think Attorney Steele is it. 2 in the chat if you think maybe he could have hired someone more adept. Wait a minute, Max V World Media is in the building, y'all. So first of all, shout out to Max. Check out his channel. But second of all, Max, you think he could have hired someone more adept? Who? I gotta know. Max, tell me, who do you think would have been more adept than Mr. Steele? All right. And same to Truth Strong Warrior. How are you, by the way? Who do you think could have done a better job? Give me some, even if you just give us some personality traits or some credentials of someone that you think would have been better than Brian Steele. So anybody who's putting a 2 in the chat, we want more answers. Jose Baez. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 moment because I honestly, I might be, living under a rock, but I don't know who Jose Baez is. Let's see. Okay, Jose Baez. Oh, he's the A. Hernandez guy. Okay. Okay, so Jose Baez represented Alex Hernandez. Where is he from, though? Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. We're going to show the page since Max recommended Mr. Baez. And I'm going to tell you why I still maintain my opinion that Mr. Steele is a good choice. So you see here what Mr. Baez describes himself as? He describes himself as an Orlando criminal lawyer. So while he may be great, I still think Attorney Steele was a good choice because Georgia is his home state, right? You got the home court advantage. He's been practicing for over 30 years and he's from Georgia. So I still think Mr. Steele was a good choice. True Strong Warrior said, Bojine, listen, again, Bojine is earning her check. So I don't know if I'm really going to disagree with you on that, True Strong Warrior. Would she win? We don't know. But we know she would earn the check. We know that. Cream Network says, good lawyer, I think. But I want to know about the prosecutor. Well, we don't have much info there. But we can kind of see, based upon this hearing, his speaking style. And he seems to be kind of laid back, but he could be tricking us. All right, let's get back into the hearing. Share my screen again.
Mr. Williams, good afternoon. Your Honor, Mr. Williams is 30 years of age. He is an incredible human being walking among us. He has grown up in rubble here in the Cleveland Avenue area. He has made it where he has performed musically on every continent in this world except for Antarctica. He has performed his music in front of as many as 300,000 people at a time. He is signed to a record label. You have members of the record label on your Zoom link now if you want to hear from him. He just got back from Norway, from performing in Norway, and he got back the Sunday before Monday when law enforcement officers executed a search warrant on his home based upon the grand jury warrant. I was there at that time, Your Honor. There were at least 10 people who were in the house with Mr. Williams. These items that are being litigated now before your honorable court for those charges, those unindicted charges, all come from the execution of a search warrant. We are not agreeing that we are responsible for any type of crime. Mr. Williams has never been convicted of any.
Already, Mr. Steele just started speaking, and already he's good. He's good. So and let me back this up for those of you who may not have caught it. He was sure to note that there were 10 people in the home. Why? Because what he's insinuating is that the drugs and the weapons were not young thugs. Now, has this argument worked before? Sure. Does it have its challenges? Sure. Because at the end of the day, it is his home, right? So that argument has its challenges, but nonetheless, it's a good argument to make, especially when you have these rappers who live these lifestyles where they're housing 50 million homies from the old neighborhood, right? Like there's always a house full of people. All right.
Any type of felony. I've defended him for at least 10, if not more years, Your Honor. He is not a convicted felon. His case in DeKalb County arises out of a show that he was performing on the Jimmy Fallon show. He was going to an airport in DeKalb County on a private plane. He's in the car with two other people, and at that scene of that traffic stop, on body camera, another person took full responsibility of any type of illegal contraband. The Honorable DeKalb County Superior Court Judge Adams heard motion to suppress. I have the honor of representing Mr. Williams, granted the motion to suppress the state appeal. It got reversed, and I have been trying to get that case done with in DeKalb County. It's now 4 years old, and they have not shown any type of interest in moving the case. And I have letter after letter begging that this case be disposed of and Mr. Williams be cleared. Your Honor, Mr. Williams owns homes here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I don't disagree that people would consider that he has substantial resources. That is not a negative, that is a positive. He is not a flight risk. He has come back every single time from being anywhere located around this world. He would surrender his passport to me, although I believe law enforcement officers may have this passport, but if not, I will get that passport and I could surrender it to the sheriff, the court, hold it myself, whatever the court states. As far
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what a criminal defense attorney is supposed to do. When you have prosecution saying that your client is a flight risk, boom, you're supposed to immediately swoop in and say, Your Honor, we will surrender all travel documents. Your Honor, yes, he has resources, but that is all the more reason for him not to run. He can't leave all these resources that he's worked so hard to accrue. This is exactly what is supposed to be done.
as interfering with the administration of justice, as argued by the honorable prosecutor, there is not a scintilla of evidence that Mr. Williams has done anything to try to obstruct justice or try to hinder people from turning themselves in or being arrested. In fact, when law enforcement officers came to his home, I was there, Your Honor, and telling firsthand, he was nothing but cooperative. He had his 14-year-old son with him at that time. In addition to that, the fact that the prosecution wants there is going to be no evidence. You can craft, if you deem it appropriate, a bond order that he cannot be around weapons, although he's lawfully allowed to do it, but for purposes of bond, you can craft that order.
I just want to note again, this is what a criminal defense attorney is supposed to do. He is making it easier for the judge to say yes. That's their job. They want bond. So they need to create all the parameters that make it easier for a judge to grant that. Your Honor, by the way, that dog you hear barking is not Mac. I just want to make sure we're clear. That's the family dog who barks at the wind. Mac is sitting here being perfectly behaviorable and relaxed. So, anywho, so that is a criminal defense attorney's job, right? They swoop in and they make it easier. Okay, Your Honor. So, how about you craft a bond agreement that says he can't be near weapons? Craft a bond agreement that says he cannot hang out with any co-defendants. Whatever you want to do. He's doing a wonderful job thus far.
The fact that he never obstructed the administration of justice. He's always come back to court when required to do so, because I have defended him on those cases, and any issues dealing with any other IALA factors, including intimidation of witnesses, they are not here. We are going to fight this case, Your Honor, all the way through until the prosecution either surrenders or a jury reaches its verdict. And I would ask you to please set a reasonable bond with whatever conditions you want. Now, with all that being said, I am not immune to what you said earlier. I understand that you have no jurisdiction, I heard you say that earlier, to deal with the indicted offense. So I understand that even if you do set bond here today, which is what I respectfully request, Mr. Williams is still in custody because we do have a pending indictment, and we're waiting for the Honorable Judge Glanville to set the hearing date for that bond.
Mr. Steele, two quick questions. One is, do you have a specific bond?
Okay, so let me answer a question in the chat very quickly. Hello to Queen Quiche. Queen Quiche would like to know, can they be given immunity if they tell on the top dog? I'm sure all 28 men didn't shoot the gun and or call the shots. So I'm guessing you're talking about the co-defendants. Yes, they may be offered immunity to testify against Young Thug or against some other higher ranking member of the alleged enterprise / gang. That's possible. But remember that under RICO, you don't have to be accused of committing any of the underlying crimes yourself, right? That's not the accusation. The accusation is that you were a part of an organization that committed the crimes. So under RICO, these men don't have to be, the trigger man, but we'll get there.
Number in mind that you're asking the court to consider?
Yes, I would ask for a signature bond. There is no reason that Mr. Williams on these charges should have anything other than respectfully a signature bond. If you don't believe that that is appropriate, Your Honor, then whatever bond you believe to be reasonable, we will, I don't mind telling you, we will make the bond.
Okay, thank you. And also, just one last question, Mr. Steele, if you don't mind. You alluded to other people being on the call now. I leave that completely up to you. If you want them to be heard, if it's relevant to the issue of bond.
Mr. Williams manager a record label, and he is widely popular, Your Honor. Mr. Williams he's like the Babe Ruth of the musical industry. So, and you just got on your screen, Your Honor, two people. I actually will vouch for them. They have been nothing but professional. I've known them for years. And that is the two people who I believe, if you could just raise your hands for the Honorable Court to see you. And if you have any questions, Your Honor, these are people, they are not convicted felons. They are business people. They are college graduates, and they have been around the world with Mr. Williams.
Okay, well, I do want to just acknowledge their presence here today. I always thank anybody who's here on a case. It could be someone here on behalf of the defense, it can be the victim, whoever it is. We always welcome everybody to the court, and I do consider your support of Mr. Williams as I consider bond at this time. And Mr. Smith, to be fair to both sides, do you have anybody on this call?
State does not, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd want to acknowledge anybody on either side of the case. But gentlemen, thank you to both of you. Now, I do want to just clarify, Mr. Smith, my understanding is that Mr. Williams, Jeffrey Williams, was indicted a couple days ago on the 22 SC Judge Glanville case, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And any bond that's to be considered on that case, per the delegation order from Judge Brasher, is going to go to Judge Glanville, and that's not before me today.
That's also correct.
Okay, and it's the state's position. You're asking for no bond. Mr. Steele's asking for a reasonable bond, preferably an.
So someone is asking, why are they not granted bond? Hi, Barn Keith. Are you talking about Young Thug? And as you're hearing from this hearing, like that pun there, Young Thug has multiple cases. He has the RICO case, but then he also has this underlying case in which they entered his home on a warrant and they found drugs and weapons. So what you hear them discussing now is that bond in this case still won't affect the other case. So what it sounds like is he would be incarcerated on the other case regardless, right? This is the underlying case that we're hearing the argument in.
Unsecured judicial release. The reason for the state's request is risk of flight and considerations going to people who've not been arrested yet, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor, in addition to, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, Mr. Steele, I just want to be clear on this. Your client has no felony convictions. He does have an open DeKalb felony case from 4 years ago. So it's a while ago now. It's been up on appeal. It's back in the DA's office. Your perspective is it's not really getting any traction at this point, but the allegations are meth with intent and sale of marijuana.
So to answer your question, Barn Keith, Young Thug doesn't have felonies either. So it appears that no one in this case is being granted bond. And again, with RICO cases, that's not unusual. If someone is being alleged of being a part of a criminal enterprise, they are a heightened danger on the street. It's the same thing we discussed when we just talked about Nature Boy last week. He is being accused of running a group of people. If you're a part of that group of people and you're committing things together, it makes you more dangerous to be out on the street.
There's a small amount. They're in a car. He's with two other people. The items are in a briefcase, and on the body camera, a passenger stated that that's my drugs. And
Yes.
that's it.
Okay. Thank you both. You both do a great service to your clients, and it makes the court's job, I think, a lot easier to do. So thank you both. Now, let me get back to you, Mr. Williams. So the court does find probable cause for the listed charges, like I mentioned earlier, based on the warrants. And at this time, the court's not going to set a bond. I do find that you're a flight risk. And I do agree for bond purposes with the entirety of the state's argument. I will say also, though, the court is very strongly considering that you've got 22 SC 182873 related to this same investigation before Judge Glanville. And I don't want to restrict Judge Glanville from making a decision on bond in regards to everything so that he can balance everything. So that's the order of the court today. It's no bond for those reasons.
Your Honor, can I ask a question?
Of course.
You found a flight risk of a gentleman who has major ties to this community and grew up here, but then you stated that you don't want to bind Judge Glanville. Is it the order of your court that you want to pass this to Judge Glanville? Because your order of no bond will restrict Mr. Williams.
I agree. I don't know how else to say it. The court agrees with the state's argument for this bond hearing today that your client is a flight risk, that he has traveled extensively. Even if you turn in his passport, that would not restrict his travel outside the state of Georgia. He has a lot of support, it appears, outside the state of Georgia. It might be hard to get him back to Georgia if he were to leave the state, and I could not restrict his interstate travel. I also mentioned Judge Glanville to consider that there's an open related case that at this point does not have a bond. And so it also makes sense for Judge Glanville to consider everything and for him not to be hamstrung by any decision that the court makes today. So it's not passing the buck, it's making a decision today based on what's in front of me now.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
You can set a condition that Mr. Williams is on an ankle monitor and confined to.
And again, this is how you respectfully advocate for a client. And this is a practical point, right? This is a teaching moment. If a judge is about to make a ruling that hurts your client, this is what you do. Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor, may I briefly respond? Your Honor, may I just clarify something? Your Honor, may I just add? And that practice point applies to objections as well. If I object and this person makes an argument against my objection and the judge is about to overrule my objection, Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor, may I briefly? You do not let it happen without interceding.
To an area and not leave the state, but I would ask the court to please reconsider, because what you're doing now is setting a precedent of a risk of flight when there is zero evidence. The man leaves the country because of work.
Well, I will also add that there's a risk of committing additional felonies for the reason that there's an open possession of methamphetamine with intent.
Now, I've said before that I don't like to judge how someone practices. And so I'll say again, this is not that. Okay. The same way that Attorney Steele interceded, ADA Smith can as well. And so what could have happened right now is that instead of Judge Wolf speaking, ADA Smith could have said, Your Honor, may I respond to Attorney Steele? And ADA Smith could be telling us right now why bond should not be granted. Just a thought.
And sale of marijuana case pending, and that those are the same charges alleged here. Allegations in both cases. Mr. Williams, you're presumed innocent. I know Mr. Steele is going to already zealously representing you, but if we could put that on the order as well, that's no bond, risk to commit additional felonies as well. I appreciate your argument, Mr. Steele. Nobody does it better, but that's the order of the court. So any other issues on bond need to go in front of Judge Glanville down the road.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very nice to see you. And again, to the people on the call supporting Mr. Williams, today means the world to him, and the court appreciates you being with us here today. Mr. Smith, anything else for the state?
Nothing further from the state at this time, other than the additional 2 positions on the calendar, Judge.
Yes, and let's get to that in just a moment. Mr. Steele, anything else for Mr. Williams?
Not today, Your Honor.
Okay, everyone, I was muted and talking. So that was one of Young Thug's hearings. So we got to meet his attorney. We got some interesting info. And so now for our purposes, we are going to specifically delve into RICO in the state of Georgia. Hello to Nappy Yankee. Nappy Yankee says, hey, chat, remember to like the video, share the video, subscribe to Empowered Esquire TV, and he also gives you the channel's Cash App if you're interested in sending a Cash Appy. All right. So now another question for y'all. Do you all want to see notes on the law, or do you want to look at the actual law? Now, what I will say is the notes on the law are going to be easier for a layperson to understand. If we go straight to the law, I'll break it down verbally, but you won't have that visual. Okay, so give me a 1 in the chat if you want actual notes. Give me a 2 in the chat if you want to see the law. All righty, I see ones rolling in. So it appears that you all would like to look on notes, like to look at notes. Oh my goodness. Which, as I said, is a good idea because the actual law is complicated and that might be a little much. Okay. The legalese might be a lot for you. Okay. All righty. So let's get into notes on the law. Then let me make sure this is up. Share screen. Window. All right, let's see. Perfect. Okay, and I put it on a pretty good font there. So I think you can see that. That shows up pretty clear, but I can make it a little bigger. Let me see. Select all. Maybe we'll try like, I don't know, 35. Yeah, that looks really good. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we are going to dive into these notes on RICO. All right. So for those of you who don't know what RICO means, it means racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organizations. That's what RICO stands for. And then usually you'll hear people say the RICO Act. So that's just the law that discusses racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organizations. In other words, it means groups of people that commit crimes together. That's it. Okay, so under Georgia law, a person can be charged with RICO, and this is the actual statute, right? If they participate in an interrelated pattern of criminal activity. Interrelated pattern of criminal activity. Remember that. Motivated by or resulting in monetary gain or economic or physical threat or injury. So in other words, a person can be charged with RICO if they're in a group committing crimes to get money or to hurt others. Okay. Elements of a RICO charge under Georgia law. So now we're going to get into it. Now we're going to get into what the prosecution needs to prove that Young Thug is guilty of a RICO charge. Keondrake Jeffrey. Hello, Keondrake Jeffrey. Thank you for telling everyone in the chat what to do. Everybody in the chat, hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And if for some reason you need a reason to subscribe, first of all, it's free. Second of all, there is not another channel, at least that I can think of, that would break down the RICO law for you like this, right? In actual black and white and not shenanigans. Okay, so let's get back into it. So it's twofold. Okay, so first, the state has to prove the underlying offenses beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay, so remember we discussed that you have to, well, let's not say you, a person has to commit crimes with that group for RICO to apply. So that means they have to prove that this group of people committed crimes, right? Because if you're just gathering in a group, but you're not committing any crimes, you're not doing anything illegal, that's not RICO. So first, the state has to prove that Young Thug is a part of a group, this alleged gang, and that this gang committed crimes. They have to prove that. Right? Okay, so first they have to prove the underlying offenses. Let's keep moving. Now, second, they have to prove that the defendant was a part of the commission of some of these underlying predicate activities. Okay? And they have to also prove that these activities were a part of an enterprise. So again, they have to prove that Young Thug was a part of this group and he was somehow involved in these activities. That doesn't mean that he committed the crime himself. They just have to prove that he was somehow involved, somehow aware of, somehow a part of, not that he committed the crimes himself. Then they also have to prove that one or more of the actions that Young Thug himself was a part of is a part of a pattern which allowed for the defendant, aka Young Thug, to maintain control of this group and to benefit from this economically. So, in other words, the state has to prove that Young Thug was a part of this group. This group was committing crimes together, it was enriching them, and that then Young Thug benefited from that enrichment, either by keeping control in this group or by actual money that he acquired or anything else tangible. So, first, he has to be a part of the group. Second, the group has to do things that are illegal. Third, he has to be enriched by this criminal activity. So keep in mind, this is not an easy crime to prove. There are so many steps before you get there. First, that he is a part of this group. Second, that this group is committing crimes. Third, that he is enriched by what they're doing. Okay. Let's continue. So, according to the applicable law, an enterprise is a person or business recognized under state law or some other legal entity. Okay, so now they're describing what an enterprise is, and this is pulled directly from the law, by the way. So, this is what the law in the state of Georgia defines an enterprise to be. Okay, they then go on to say that an enterprise can also be a group or association which is not legally recognized as an entity, but associates together as a group that has a common purpose or goal. So, an enterprise can be, a la R. Kelly, a record label, a production company, or an enterprise can be a gang, a neighborhood group. Okay. Racketeering activity means to commit, attempt, or solicit another person to commit a crime. Pause. Let's delve into that. What does that mean? That means that Young Thug himself, I'm going to say it over and over and over and over and over again, because I know that 3 weeks from now, people will still be saying this and it will still drive me nuts. Young Thug himself does not have to commit a crime. Racketeering means that you are, again, a part of a group in which you could be ordering people to do things. So Young Thug could be telling someone, you go do this, you go do that. And he's responsible for everything he told someone to do. He never has to do it. He never has to do it. But if he told the person to go and do it, he is responsible for it. Okay, and then the law goes on to explain that they have some offenses that are automatically qualifications for racketeering. And those offenses are homicide, theft, fraud, perjury, bribery, drug distribution, drug trafficking, and more. Why is this last part specifically relevant? Someone in the chat tell me, why is it specifically relevant that drug distribution, drug trafficking are amongst the crimes that are automatically qualifications for underlying offenses in racketeering? Maybe one of the OGs will get it, or maybe a newbie will get it. I don't know. Do 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 do. I'll ask the question again. Why is it important that drug distribution and drug trafficking qualifies as underlying offenses that could go towards proving racketeering. All right, Deneen Bay got it. Because drugs were found in his home. Because drugs were found in his home. So we know that if they can link those drugs to the enterprise, boom, they've got one underlying offense down already. Okay. Hello, Candy Girl. All right, let's move on. So the state is required to prove at least 2 of these offenses beyond a reasonable doubt. So in other words, the state has to prove that the quote unquote enterprise, the group, the gang, committed at least 2 crimes together. You got that? This prosecutor has to prove, in order for him to prove that Young Thug was even a part of an enterprise, right? He has to prove that this quote unquote enterprise, this criminal organization allegedly, committed at least 2 crimes together. And as we just saw, things that qualify could be homicide, theft, fraud, perjury, bribery, and drug-related offenses. Okay, let's move on. The offenses do not have to be charged separately in the indictment. Understood. Okay. They just need to be noted in the indictment. Understood. Okay. The state does not have to prove every action that they list, as we know, because we know that 2 is all they need. Okay. A pattern of racketeering activity means engaging in at least 2 incidents of racketeering activity. To accomplish at least one scheme or a plan with similar intent. So again, they have to prove that Young Thug is a part of a group where they all had a common goal and they committed at least 2 crimes together to get to that goal, in furtherance of that goal. And by the way, that goal could be to make money. It could just be, we want to make money. That's a goal that would qualify. All right, and more predicate crimes, which we've pretty much already gone through that, so I don't think that's necessary. Let's talk here about potential prison time. So, a conviction under Georgia's RICO statute has a sentence of incarceration with a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 20 years. Okay, so understand that this is not light time. Okay, this is potentially heavy incarceration time. And so, is it possible that Young Thug might try to reach some sort of plea deal? That's possible because he's facing a lot of time here. So, that is absolutely possible here. Okay, and then a judge may also fine the defendant up to 3 times the amount of any money obtained during the scheme. That is also important to note for Young Thug because Young Thug is considered to be wealthy, right, by society. So it's possible that he may actually be required to pay a fine. That's possible. All right, I'm in the chat. Hello to my baddies versus the lit channel. I think I already said hi to Candy Girl, but hello to you. And that is the breakdown of the RICO law. So remember, RICO is a very, very intricate prosecution. It is not a 1, 2, 3 prosecution. It is very intricate. First, the state has to prove that Young Thug was a part of a group. Second, they have to prove that that group was committing crimes together. In fact, they have to prove that that group committed at least 2 crimes together. Then third, they have to link that to some type of enrichment on Young Thug's part. All right. So they have their job cut out for them, right? Although with this many people being indicted, you better believe that they probably have sufficient evidence, but it's not going to be, an easy sprint. Now, someone said, is RICO a federal charge or a state charge? In this case, it is a state charge. This is Georgia's RICO statute. As you see on the screen. Let me highlight that for you all. Okay. So we are discussing Georgia's RICO statute, and Young Thug is being charged under Georgia's RICO statute. So this case is a state case. All right. So let's talk about some other interesting things in regards to this law that you may not know. So, oh, I have it here. I was going to just say it, but I have it here. So they can also impose civil remedies. And we talked about fining Young Thug. They can also fine Young Thug and have him pay back to the state of Georgia any financial enrichment, right? So any money that he garnered through these criminal activities. Also, though, anyone who has been injured through these criminal activities, through the activities of the enterprise, can also sue for damages in accordance with the RICO statute. So that's an interesting thing to note. All righty, so that is the end of the notes on the law. As you all know, today is a double feature. My mouth is already dry, so I don't know how I'm getting over to and the double feature was supposed to start at 6. And the dog has started again. Let me tell you all, I love animals. I do. I love them. So if you have any further questions, and look at that, Mac. And Mac started because, anyway. So I'm going to mosey on over to the second feature, unless you all have any Young Thug questions for me. Let's see. True Strong Warrior says, can he still be charged by the feds? That's possible. It is a possibility. Okay. Mo Light and Love says you should be on a bigger platform. Thank you so much, Mo Light and Love. I have even better things coming in the future. I do plan on having some sort of setup. It'll be different. It'll be different and it'll be better, as my old mentor used to say. So we're going to get better and better and better and better. All right. So I'm looking at the chat to see if you have any questions. If not, I'm headed over to my next feature. My next feature is Nature Boy's preliminary hearing. All right. And you can check out my community tab for the link to that live. Going to give you all a minute or so to drop any questions. All right. Misty says, was there any wiretapping? We didn't hear about that, so we don't know, but definitely possible. And I'm sure as more information comes out, we'll know if there was. All right. I don't see any other questions. Oh my goodness. I'm drinking some Gosling's ginger beer, you all. I don't know if you ever had it, but it's delicious. That dog is going to drive me nuts. Totally crazy. Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to hop on out of here. I'll see you all over in the Nature Boy Live. This has been another installment of Empowered Esquire TV. You bring something unique to this world, to this channel, to my life, and I love you for it. If you're a replay gang, let me know what you think about this case. And what do you think about Attorney Steele? I mean, I think he's awesome. Mara Sharice, yes, this is the constant. The dog barks all day for no reason. This is a situation. All right, I'll see you all in the next live.